Going into the season, the Clippers were touted as the deepest team in the league, but so far this season, you haven't seen the production from the second unit that they expected. But what did they find out in the loss to the Nets and the bounce back win against the Rockets that could solve their issues even without Kawhi when it comes to the bench? Gonna be talking about it all on today's Locked On Clippers. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You are locking in with the Clips. Thank you for making Locked On Clippers the first listen of your day, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. I am your host, Darian Vaziri, in my 18th season as a Clipper fan. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DimeDropperPod. And of course, subscribe to my own YouTube channel, Dime Dropper, where I do even more Clipper content and post my vlogs when I go to games and more NBA stuff around the league. Now, Locked On Clippers. Remember to subscribe because it's the fastest way to grow the show on the YouTube channel and answer today's question. Coming in hot with this one. What grade would you give Ty Lue so far to start the season? Because I'm going to be talking about him a lot and how the answer to our bench issues is right in front of them in this weekend's games against the Nets and the Rockets, which I'm going to be talking about in this episode, showed us what I think I've been saying a lot, not to toot my own horn here, for a while on this podcast. I answered a question about it in the last episode or the episode before about why I'm so pro wings over small guards. And I'll get even more into that by using these two games as an example for the Clippers. So let's get right into it. Starting with what I didn't like about the Clippers' loss to the Nets. So now you might be wondering, the most recent game was the Rockets, man. Yes, unfortunately, I did not bring the Nets post-game pod. I apologize for that. It's just been very frantic because remember, I am going to Qatar and I'm still going to have for 1 week. I'm still going to have episodes while I'm there for the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday slots. It's just not all of them are going to be up to date. So I hope you enjoy them, but you still have me for now. So let's get right into it. Clippers and Nets. This was a game, obviously no Kawhi Leonard, but everybody else was healthy for the Clippers. The thing about it was, what I didn't like was, it was an interesting substitution pattern when it came to the whole team for one, but Ivica Zubac, right? So I talked about how in preseason or early in the season, we might see Ivica Zubac checking out at like the 6-minute mark so the Clippers can go small and then John Wall can play with Ivica Zubac so he has that pick and roll threat. I think what Ty Lue is realizing now, though, is that it's actually Reggie Jackson that needs Ivica Zubac to set him good screens to make the pick and roll something that really enhances his offensive game, because right now Reggie Jackson is not really getting by his man one-on-one the same way. But John Wall, on the other hand, has gotten in the paint and attacked the basket more relentlessly than any other player on the Clippers. So right now, when teams switch everything, when the Clippers go small, John Wall is actually one of the better options for the Clippers to make something happen off the dribble and break defenses down. He doesn't necessarily need Ivica Zubac. Obviously, that increases his pick and roll threat. But sometimes I think it's better when John Wall just goes at guys one-on-one, because teams are starting to go underneath the screen with John Wall and forcing him to shoot that jump shot. And I prefer him going downhill than shooting the jump shot. But I still think John Wall is a pretty good pick and roll threat with a guy like Zoo. However, I think Reggie needs him more. So I think that was what Ty's thinking was in that one. However, Nick Claxton, the center for the Nets, was still in the game, and I'm just not a fan of, especially what we've seen from the Clippers so far this season, is when Zubac goes to the bench, they have really struggled to contain teams on the interior, and they just don't have as much resistance, and teams tend to switch a lot more, which causes the Clippers to play it one-on-one, and Marcus Morris Sr. and Paul George have been the only two players in the Clippers that have been consistently able to score one-on-one so far this season. So that makes it tough for the Clippers right now, right? So I didn't like that decision in particular. But the second quarter in that game, they had a lineup of Reggie Jackson, Norman Powell, Terrence Mann, Nico Batum, and Ivica Zubac. So you might be thinking, what's wrong with that? Well, I don't like the two smaller guards. I don't mind the Reggie Jackson, Luke Kennard combo to start the game, though, I will say. But Reggie Jackson, Norman Powell with 3 other wing players, not bad. Not bad. But the thing is, when Terrence Mann came out of the game, and this is going to be a theme throughout the episode, when Terrence Mann came out of the game, the Clippers were up 34-33, and you didn't see him for the rest of the second quarter. Reggie Jackson played the entire second quarter. Clippers trailed by 4 at halftime. But what really... one thing I didn't like was they took Terrence Mann out and put in Luke Kennard, ran a little 3-guard set with Reggie Jackson, Luke Kennard, and Norman Powell, and then it became John Wall, Reggie Jackson, and Luke Kennard. 3 smaller guards. I did not like that at all. I don't know why the Clippers want to do that. I don't know if they think it's because they have more defensive versatility switching at the guard position on defense, but Kevin Durant was getting Reggie Jackson switched onto him and just rising up and getting to his spots. I don't think that with 3 guards, in Luke Kennard, actually 4, Luke Kennard, John Wall, Reggie Jackson, and Norman Powell, the best you're getting is John Wall or Norman Powell, and Luke Kennard are average on defense. Average at best. Decent at best, I should say. And you want to switch everything with 3 of them in the same lineup? Or switch every non-zoo pick and roll with 3 of those in the same lineup? No. I don't like it. And then what was crazier to me was, Reggie Jackson's playing the whole second quarter and he's not even playing a very good game. And what really surprised me was in the fourth quarter, the Clippers were up 79-78, and then Reggie came in for Terrence. By the way, you didn't see Robert Covington or Amir Coffey in that game at all. And Reggie came in for the rest of the fourth quarter, basically, when the Clippers were up 79, or I think it was a 1-point game. Didn't see Terrence for the rest of the game. And Clippers just went cold from 3, and they went to that 3-guard lineup again. John Wall, Reggie Jackson, Norman Powell. It was just... It's not it. It's not it. I'm not a fan of these small guard things. And it's funny because the Clippers did that against the Nets. But it's the Nets that got exposed by doing that against the Boston Celtics in the playoffs last year. You saw how they were switching everything with guards that weren't even that great at guarding. Kyrie Irving and Patty Mills and Seth Curry are out here switching everything. Like, these guys are not great defenders. But the thing is, the Clippers, going into the season, were a team that had developed, or assembled, I should say, not developed, assembled a bunch of wing players. Now, obviously, one of those is Kawhi Leonard, and he hasn't been healthy so far this season. But they still have a lot of wings, and Robert Covington being one of them, who didn't play in that Nets game. And that's his second straight healthy DNP. But he did play in the Rockets game. And the Clippers in the Rockets game started leaning more into what you thought their identity was going to be, which is playing a lot of wing players. Now, Ty Lue has to seriously look in the mirror and address something very serious, in my opinion. And I'm going to be talking about what that is coming up. I've never been a sweaty guy, but my dad was. His palm used to get sweatier than Eminem and Lose Yourself music video. But he fixed his problem. And you know how he did that? He used Sweat Block. Sweat Block wipes were invented by a doctor, and they're guaranteed to work, or you don't pay. They call it the Sweat Block Dry Shirt Guarantee. If Sweat Block doesn't help you dry, you get your money back. If you or someone you love is experiencing embarrassing sweat or odor, try Sweat Block, risk-free today. Save 20% with the promo code LOCKEDON at sweatblock.com. That's LOCKEDON at sweatblock.com. Also available on Amazon. Nowadays, with all the streaming services out, don't you forget to cancel some of your subscriptions and you just get charged for them randomly. I mean, I know for myself, NBA League Pass was charging me when I wasn't watching any games besides the Clippers or the Lakers last season, and I forgot to unsubscribe. But then I fixed my problem. And it was because I used Rocket Money, formerly known as Truebill. The app shows all your subscriptions in one place and cancels what you don't want for you. Rocket Money can even find subscriptions you didn't know you were paying for. You may even find out you've been double charged for a subscription, just like I was. To cancel a subscription, all you have to do is press cancel, and Rocket Money takes care of the rest. Cancel unnecessary subscriptions with Rocket Money today. Go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon. Seriously, it could save you hundreds per year. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. A member responding to a survey called it the best app they've ever used. Thank you for making Locked On Clippers your first listen today. For your second listen today, check out Locked On Sports Today. From the games that matter the most to the biggest stories in sports, go beyond the scoreboard and behind the scenes with local experts and insights only Locked On can provide. Locked On Sports Today, available on this app, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. Let's talk about the Clip Show. Houston Rockets, third time playing these young guys this season. And the Clippers took care of business in this one, and I'm not going to lie, a lot of good things in this one. A lot of good things, and winning by double digits, 122-106, even in a game in which Paul George was 7 for 18 from the field. And there was a big change. First, let's start with the big lineup change, or should I say rotation change. And that was that Ty Lue rode with the starters basically the entire first quarter. And you saw more of Zubats, who, by the way, is averaging 30 minutes a game, which I said if he averages 30 minutes a game, he's going to average a double-double this season. And so right now he's averaging 10 points, 10.6 points, so rounds up to 11, and then 11 rebounds. And he's playing 30.6 minutes a game, which I love. And again, it proves my point that I've been saying for years. If he averages 30 minutes or more, he's going to average a double-double. But he's young, and I think he could play 33 minutes a game. I really do. Wendell Carter Jr. plays 33 minutes a game. He's not that much younger than Zoo. I don't think Zoo gets insanely tired or anything like that when he plays in the games. 3 extra minutes. I mean, for how valuable he is to the team, I know he plays every single game, but he's young. So, I don't know. I think he can get a couple more minutes per game. But in this one, he didn't need to, and that was because the Clippers played so well and handled their business early on. And this game, we saw a better Jalen Green than the first 2 matchups against the Clippers. Now, going into this game, I'm not going to lie, Reggie Jackson, I was just kind of to a point where I was looking at him with a magnifying glass like, look, Ty Lue clearly has this thing with Reggie Jackson where he really puts up with him even when he doesn't play very well, but he has a shorter leash with everybody else. Robert Covington, Terrence Mann, certain wing players. Now, I know the Clippers are a little bit short at the point guard spot. It's really just John Wall and Reggie Jackson, and John Wall doesn't play every game, which when is that going to stop? Because the guy rested for a whole year. Are they just going to load manage him the entire season? But I understand Ty Lue's thinking that the Clippers are short on the point guard position. And I know I've been Mr. Let's get the ball to Paul George in the mid-post, not so much pick and roll. But look, this is not an anti-Reggie Jackson thing. But if it means that we give Terrence Mann more minutes than Reggie Jackson, or at least give Reggie less and give some of those minutes to a Terrence or an Amir Coffey or a Robert Covington to play more of a wing-heavy lineup, I'm willing to have Paul George play that point guard position, point forward position, or even Norman Powell play that with Terrence Mann doing it by committee if Paul George is out of the game. Because you also have John Wall as well some nights. I'm willing to do it because the wings clearly showed in this Houston game. It was as if Ty Lue was listening to me. He went wing heavy, and you saw an immediate difference. Robert Covington back into the lineup. Amir Coffey played in this one. And when the Clippers went to a small ball lineup, it was with Norman Powell as the smallest guy at 6'4", Terrence Mann, Amir Coffey, Robert Covington, Nico Batum. Much better stuff. Clippers around the 4-minute mark of the first quarter started a 25-9 run. I thought Paul George was settling in the beginning of the game, but again, Marcus Morris Sr. continues to be amazing, hitting shots from mid-range, from 3, contested. He has been as consistent as they come so far in this early season. But despite PG settling a bit, I thought in the first quarter it was just a lot of Reggie. And I thought he had his good and bad moments. He had 7 points, 3 assists. Still, there were some times where he's just loose with the ball and just makes really careless turnovers and takes really tough shots. And in my opinion, just the reason why I think it's not a big deal if Ty Lue cuts Reggie's minutes is because you think, maybe he's going to lose confidence. I don't know if it's possible for Reggie Jackson to lose confidence. We did see it in the past, but just a slightly less minutes is not a big deal, in my opinion, because when you see what the Clippers did in this game, You see the clear formula. Norman Powell at point, Terrence Mann, Amir Coffey, Robert Covington, Nico Batum. Those guys, for the most part, can all switch, and you were really seeing the vision right there with what you expected from this Clipper team before the season started. Screens were being set, and they were doing nothing, forcing the Rockets to play a lot of isolation. And I will say, this was the best Jalen Green we saw in the 3 games. He played really well. His jumper was falling, and that really changed everything for him. And Kevin Porter Jr. did not shoot well in this game, 6 for 18, but he still had some moments where, he makes some nice shots and makes really nice moves and got to the line 15 times. So he put some pressure on your defenders. I thought they were really targeting Ivica Zubac and Reggie Jackson in pick and roll. I thought Zoo didn't have his best game in this one, but I thought he was still solid. I think it was hard when they were putting him in pick and roll Reggie Jackson. I thought he was dying on screens fairly easily. I don't mean to say that to hate. I just think Reggie Jackson on defense is where I'm really looking at things. I tend to look at things from a defensive lens, per se. Everybody views the game from a different lens. I view it from a very defensive lens. And the reason why I don't like the small ball lineups with 3 guards, and especially John Wall and Reggie Jackson playing with each other, is it's too small. And today's NBA is about wing players. And that's why the Clippers assembled this team the way they did. I think that Ty Lue has this guard conviction right now. And I think this game, even though it's against the Houston Rockets, is proof in the pudding right here that you can let Norman Powell and Terrence Mann, despite there not being a true point guard out there on the floor right there, to play point by committee because they did a little bit of it last season. And if you have Luke Kennard in there instead of Norman, that's a little bit, honestly, you want Luke Kennard off the ball. So I forget what I said. Norman Powell, Terrence Mann, Amir, Robert Covington, Nico is better. And Robert Covington today looked like his old self. He was 1 for 4 from the field, 1 for 3 from deep, but his impact was better. He hit a 3. He got a block. I just thought it was a little bit better from him. He played 19 minutes, had 4 points, 4 rebounds. But the guys that really impressed for me off the bench, Nico Batum and Terrence Mann. And oh boy, we needed a good Nico game. It felt like a while since we got one where he's been hitting shots. Today he was 4 for 7 from the field. On Monday night, he was 4 for 7 from the field, 2 for 5 from deep, finally hitting some threes. I think they were both in the corner, and there was a whole thing that Jamie Maggio, the sideline reporter for the Clippers, talked about the corner 3 being a weapon that the Clippers have utilized a lot the past couple of seasons, especially with guys like Reggie Jackson, Marcus Morris, Terrence Mann, and Nicholas Batum. And this season, they were lowest going into this game in the league in corner 3s with their Los Angeles Lakers hallway partners right in front of them. And that's, I think that's not going to last. I think you'll see the Clippers hit the corner 3 more often. But I think that part of it is Reggie Jackson needs to just play off the ball more. And in the third quarter, you started seeing that. Paul George started getting on the ball more and started creating some much better looks. I thought Paul George settled a bit too much in this game. But I also think that the last 2 games, he just missed a lot of jumpers that he normally makes. I think at times he overcomplicates things, as I've said, can go in the mid-post area. But in this game, he started out 3 for 12, and he ended 7 for 18. So he was 4 for 6 in the second half. I thought that he made some good plays. And I also thought, like in most games this season, Paul George's defense was pretty sharp, whether it was on the ball or getting steals in the passing lanes, except for some moments in the third quarter where Jalen Green was blowing by not just Paul George, but all our guys like they were just cones. But the wings. That's what really stood out. And in the fourth quarter, you didn't even need to see Paul George and multiple other starters because those wing players took care of business. And in particular, Terrence Mann. And I'm going to be talking about why I'm just going to keep doing it. Just keep advocating for Terrence Mann to get more minutes. Going to be talking about exactly what he did that was so great in this Rockets game and why he just needs to play more point blank. End of story. Coming up. On Tuesday, I'm picking Luka Doncic to get over 25 points, picking Ja Morant to get over 10 assists, and I'm also picking Damian Lillard to score over 30 points. And where am I doing that? On Prize Picks. Prize Picks is a daily fantasy entry app. What all you have to do is pick 2 to 5 players and predict if they will score more or less than the Prize Picks projection. You can win up to 10 times your money on any entry, and it's not competing against other people. It's just you versus the projections available. And PrizePick offers projections on any sport that you watch. That includes the NBA, obviously, NFL, NHL, MLB, PGA, college football, men's college basketball, which has just began, and of course, women's sports and the World Cup coming up. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It's that easy. They're safe and easy withdrawals. Currently operational in over 30 states and Canada. Just download the PrizePicks app or go to prizepicks.com to sign up and play daily fantasy sports. First-time users can receive 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with the promo code LOCKEDON. If you deposit $100, PrizePicks will give you $100. If you deposit $50, PrizePicks will give you $50. Don't forget to enter the promo code LOCKEDON and sign up for an instant deposit match up to $100. Terrence Mann in this game. Exceptional, yet again. I think it's going to be on my tombstone. Play Terrence Mann more at this point. Because what he does is not only, as I've repeated like a broken record, is he one of our best, if not the best, point of attack defender on our team. Meaning guarding on the ball, getting over screens. He hustles. He's also one of the best cutters on our team. Because a lot of people are very stagnant on this Clipper team off the ball. He cuts and he's a threat at the rim because he has bounce and he attacks the rim relentlessly, more, not just even relentlessly, but aggressively. Now, when we talk about the Clippers having a lack of rim pressure, Terrence Mann, even with not having the craziest one-on-one game and handle or anything like that, his hard drive right, or when people close out on him hard, his hard drive right, when he puts his shoulder into you and he elevates really well, he still gets to the rim better than a lot of players on the Clippers. He still offers that offensively, and this season, he's shooting a great percentage from the field. Going into this game, 58%. Now, he's only shooting 25% from three, and that's kind of the resistance probably that Ty Lue has. But, again, defensive lens. When Terrence Mann plays, he gives us added athleticism, rim pressure. You see more transition for the Clippers, and ultimately defense leading to offense, to me, is just winning basketball at any level, and throughout history, that's what works. And even though the Clippers aren't necessarily a fast-breaking team, it never hurts to get easy baskets in transition by getting stops and or creating turnovers, and Terrence Mann helps do that, and in this game, he helped do that. 14 points for him off the bench, 4 rebounds and 4 assists. 4 for 7 from the field. And as a result, Paul George only played 29 minutes. Reggie Jackson, 23 minutes. And Reggie Jackson, I got to give him his flowers. He did perform well, especially in the third quarter. The Rockets outscored the Clippers by 1 in that quarter, 32-31. But Reggie had 10 points, hit some tough threes. Also, took some better ones, though, more in rhythm ones. When Paul George started going on the ball more in the third quarter, I really liked that. And I'm not sure if the first quarter they just gave Reggie Jackson, ran so many plays through Reggie Jackson, just constant pick and roll with him and Zoo. If that was by design to give Paul George a little bit of pace him throughout the game and not make him run the offense through 4 quarters. But against better teams, I'm just afraid the way Reggie Jackson has been playing so far this season, outside of this game, and even for moments in that first quarter, that it will cost us and get us off to tough starts. But the thing is, when Kawhi Leonard comes back, it's so funny because I'm doing these podcasts and I'm not even thinking about Kawhi Leonard coming back, and I don't want to think about adjusting to him because it's I don't even know what to expect. It's just so much constantly in flux for this Clipper team. It's really just hard to make long-term assessments of them, to be honest. But as far as this team right now with Kawhi Leonard out of the lineup, I think Reggie Jackson, he needs to be, as the point guard of the team, I think he needs to be more trustworthy, and I think he needs to realize the strengths and weaknesses of the team. And right now, he's one of the weaknesses in the sense that I don't think he's going to produce better shots than Marcus Morris Sr. and Paul George. I mean, obviously, Paul George that's obvious. I get if you want to pace Paul George for the rest of the game and do what you did, like what you saw tonight or on Monday night, where he starts handling the ball more in the second half. And Reggie Jackson does it to give him a little bit of a breather, especially in games that John Wall isn't there to take pressure off both of them. But Marcus Morris Sr., even though he's not a pick-and-roll ball handler, which is probably why you want to give the ball to Reggie Jackson, because when you run pick-and-rolls, that involves Ivica Zubats more and shooters more. But Marcus Morris Sr. in isolation so far this season, I would love to see their points per possession. Reggie Jackson running pick and roll with Ivica Zubats versus Marcus Morris Sr. isolation, because Marcus Morris Sr. has been so unbelievably efficient, and he just did it again tonight in every single way. Also has been so solid on defense to start the year. 15 points for Senior, 5 rebounds, 6 for 9 from the field, 3 for 4 from deep in 25 minutes. Just awesome. Plus 10 when he was on the court. Paul George, 22 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists, 7 for 18 from the field, 2 steals as well, 2 for 7 from deep, 6 for 8 from the line. Didn't get to play the fourth quarter because the Clippers were winning by so much. And that's great because the Clippers have a tough second half of this back-to-back. It's a little Texas two-step, and that's against our old friends over in Dallas that we've beaten twice in the playoffs, Luka Doncic and crew. And they've been off to a decent start to the season. Our first look at them with Christian Wood. But Nico Batum, going back to the Clippers, Nico Batum needed a big performance. And for him to have 10.6 rebounds and shoot 4 for 7 from the field and 2 for 5 from deep was huge. Hopefully he can start a spell of good form for Nico, knocking down shots, and I think that'll affect his defense as well. Luke Kennard, very solid day at the office for him. 8 points, only shot 6 times, but made 3 of them. Made 50% of his threes, nothing new. 2 for 4 from deep for him. But Reggie Jackson, 17 points, 6 assists, 7 for 11 from the field, very efficient, and 3 for 7 from deep. So a good game for him. Clippers still turn the ball over 16 times, and against better teams, that will be more costly. And on Tuesday, they will be playing a better team. At the end of the day, my takeaway is this. The wing lineups, wing heavy, is the route the Clippers need to go. Look at more. Robert Covington should not be getting DNPs when he's healthy. And Reggie Jackson is the one that needs to be limited a little bit. Even John Wall to a degree. I think they really need to lean into this defensive approach. Now, it's easier when Kawhi Leonard's there because then you have not just Paul George as your point forward, but you have Kawhi Leonard that can also play that point forward and create plays in pick and roll. But I think that Ty Lue needs to show a little bit more fairness, in my opinion, with Reggie, and play guys like Terrence Mann who do so much of the little things that don't show up in the stat sheet. Diving for loose balls, being active on the offensive glass, causing loose ball fouls because they're going for offensive rebounds. Just little things like that. And obviously attacking the basket and being a better transition player. Reggie Jackson to me slows down in the Clipper offense. And I really love Reggie Jackson. I'm just looking at it from what's best for the team. I said similar things about Marcus Morris Sr., that his presence felt a little bit redundant. Now, I don't think that Reggie Jackson's presence is redundant because the Clippers only have those 2 point guards, but I was critical of Marcus Morris and thought that, you know what, maybe he's the odd man out. He's made me look the absolute fool. The absolute fool. And you know what? If Reggie Jackson makes me look the fool and makes Clipper fans look the fool, because it's not just me saying this right now, then we want that to happen. We want the Clippers to win. But right now, Reggie Jackson is looking tough because mainly, other than the offensive stuff, IQ, questionable IQ decisions and stuff like that, it's the defense where he doesn't offer much resistance. And, I think he played a little better in the second half of this Rockets game defensively, but it's still not something that I trust, especially when he's out there with another smaller guard. So at the end of the day, Ty Lue, that's why I asked the pin question today, and I really want you to answer it, guys. Let me know. What's Ty Lue's grade been to start the season? Because even though I'm a huge Ty Lue advocate, and I think he'll figure it out, I hope this game showed him a little more about why this, players like Amir Coffey, he played 19 minutes in this game and didn't score a point, but his presence was felt out there. The Clippers were +8 in his minutes, and I'm not a big plus-minus guy. I'm really not. But when it backs up the eye test, I'm going to use it. And I think that this game, it did back up the eye test. And Norman Powell, who played 23 minutes, he shot 1 for 6 from deep, but he was 4 for 10 from the field overall and 8 for 9 from the line. I thought he played really, really solid. And, I thought in the Nets game, he didn't make a lot of shots, but I thought he was taking all the right shots. And I'm actually very, very happy with the way he's played lately, and I think he's going to slowly start playing even better and better. He had 17 points in this game and was +13 when he was on the court, 3 assists, 3 rebounds, and 2 steals. I like the performance from Norman Powell and overall the Clipper bench, and I like, even though he does look a little shaky at times with that point guard position in that small ball but wing-heavy small ball lineup, he had 3 turnovers in this game. I think it's okay. But make sure to answer today's pin question. What grade would you give Ty Lue as a coach? You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram as a coach so far this season. Sorry. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DimeDropperPod. Let me know what you thought of the episode. Peace. And of course, The age-old proverb, go Clippers.